Welcome. This podcast is an exploration into being human and what's possible when there's less attention on the noise in our heads. Warning: while listening to this broadcast, you may experience moments of deep peace, sighs of relief, personal insights, or long stretches of dead air. Do not be afraid. This is normal. Under the Noise with Win Morgan and Kate Roberts. Welcome to this week's Under the Noise with me, Win Morgan, and my co-host, Kate Roberts. Hello, Kate.
Hi, Win.
Hey. And today, delighted to be sharing with you Mer, who's been a friend for at least 4 years. It might be 5, but neither of us can really remember if it was January 2017 or January of 2018. However, there's a memory there that may or may not come out, and I'm more likely to tell anyone if someone buys me a cup of coffee about what Mer just told me of that first memory. Before we get into what we're going to talk about today, Mer, I just wanted to say something about you that I really admire. And I did warn you I might embarrass you before we started. I didn't think you might not know what I would say, whether it was a nice thing or something else. And this is a nice thing. You are one of those people to me that I am instantly disarmed. My ego is instantly disarmed. My insecurities are instantly disarmed when I'm around you. And I remember that from the first time we met. That's what I remember of you in the January of 4 or 5 years ago. And I know enough about you over that time to know that I'm not the only one that you have that effect on. So it's been a thrill to have set this up that we can all listen to you for a while today.
Thank you, Win.
Now, the first question we like to ask is, how would you introduce yourself to someone who'd never met you or heard your name before?
I might say this. I am someone who has glimpsed how exquisite and gorgeous we all are. And that glimpse has absolutely changed my experience of being alive. And I'm still making friends with being human. Like that's the learning curve. I'm not that there's not more beauty to glimpse, but I'm just someone that's really still in the trenches with putting my arms around being human. And those are both always happening in me.
There's so much in what you just said that could be jumping off points to where it would be interesting for this conversation to go today. But if it's okay with you, I'd love to know what the difference is in the before and after.
I think I could express it in a few different ways. And one that comes to mind is I really thought that I was not the same thing as everybody else. I mean, I have mountains of memories of feeling utterly alone. And I mean that in every context. Like with my family, with friends, with my community, with my religion. And I remember distinctly, we used to go on trips quite a bit with my family and just traveling to other places in the world. And I just never, it never, ever, ever occurred to me that I was the same as everybody else. And when I got this glimpse of who and what we actually are, that aloneness just vanished. And I went from thinking I was 1% like everybody else and 99% unique to the opposite of that. Like I just felt like all the way to my bones, we are all the same, and I am made of the same stuff as everybody else, and I'm in the same game. And we're all completely messed up and totally gorgeous. Like, and it's all okay. So that's one expression I would give to it. Another one would be just overwhelming relief that I'm okay, that any experience I'm having can't make a dent. It can't get me, it literally doesn't have the power to get me off track or to actually mess me up. Like there was so much relief and freedom in that. And so I stopped giving enormous amounts of energy and time that I had spent trying to save myself. And it's interesting because on this side, I still love to explore and to learn and to, I mean, I've got hundreds of books around me. Like it's not like I stopped dipping and diving and adventuring, but the desperation isn't in it anymore. Just that raw neediness to get somewhere different so that I can breathe, so that I can relax, so that I can be okay. And I still don't relax a whole bunch of the time, but it's just not as big of a deal as it used to be.
Well, and you said you had a glimpse of something that accounts for the difference in those two ways of expressing the before and after. How do you put into words the glimpse of what you saw and understood?
God, I don't think I can. I can try, but
Yeah.
it was like the visual that's in my head is like I was in the middle of this enormous pile of human mess and chaos, that to me was my own psychology and my past and my relationship with my parents and blah 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 blah. And I knew somewhere in it was this golden thread. Like there was something worthy in there somewhere. There was something redeemable. There was something that I touched and felt and hung on to and stroked once in a while. But what I saw gave me this realization that what before I perceived as a thread was like a galaxy. It was like an ocean. And all that mountain that I was lost in all the time of all that stuff was just, it was just dust. It was just smoke. Like it was just something happening in the ocean. I don't even know if that makes any sense, but it's so flipped my entire orientation towards myself, towards people, towards life, towards God, as I understood God. And it felt like I was floating because all the weight was gone. There was just, I fell in love with myself. That's what I did. And I fell in love with everybody. I remember standing up at the end of that first week of Supercoach and saying something like, all of you look like there's way less wrong with you than it looked to me a week ago. I just, the whole psychology of ourselves just looked, like a piece of flint on my sweater.
Mm.
It was just so unbelievably gorgeous.
So let's see if I grasp that then. Then what looked like a solid mountain became a piece of fluff.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like I had spent literally 20 years more trying to forgive and get over and let go of and conquer and whatever, feelings I had towards my past and my parents. And I mean, I tried hard. I knew it was a good idea. I tried so hard. And when this shift happened, when this glimpse came across my plate, it literally just went poof. It was just poof and it was gone. All those feelings that I'd slaved to get rid of, they were just gone. How that was amazing.
I do find it extraordinary how poof and it's gone is what it feels like to go from 99% different to 99% the same. And various ways of saying the same thing that, well, I know the three of us have got that glimpse of too.
Yeah.
Now, if the person listening to you didn't have a clue what you were talking about, what might you say?
Gosh, I don't know. one of my favorite analogies that I don't remember where I heard it, but it's coming to mind, of living your life in a library. And then all of a sudden realizing that there was an entire rest of the house and rest of the world outside the house. And that rest of the world outside the house is what I glimpsed, and is what reaches out to all of us all the time. It's that moment of longing for something purer and simpler. It's that moment of, when you just trip into those little pools of complete rest without trying. They just happen. Or those moments of grace when you're fully with somebody and looking in their eyes, and you just know there's something gorgeous that you don't see very often that's touching you. It's just that it's there, it's in you, it's in all of us. And it's literally as simple as we're just in our heads. And so we can't quite see it. But it's like it's on the tip of your mental tongue, all the time, always. And so even if someone thinks this woman is gone loony, like, yes, I get it. I hear what you're saying. And yet I also think that someone listening to me does know what I'm talking about, even if they don't know up in their head what I'm talking about. Because it's so much bigger than words. And it's territory we all know, no matter what words we use or don't.
I was reading something this morning where the author was talking about how when we hear something or see something in that way, that it's like truth is like a tuning fork for our being. And we automatically, without even knowing that we're doing it, we turn towards that. Without question. Or something changes without even knowing that it's different. And we don't ever get to go back. We're changed, it's done. Like there's not ever a space to go back to where you didn't tune towards that truth. And I love that, and I need that to be true. That's what it feels like.
Yes, I love that.
Me too.
That's so true in my experience as well. I've always loved those words, vibrate and resonate. Because it's way beyond our mind. It's just something in us just turns and vibrates. It's beautiful.
One thing I remember from, I don't know, it's probably 45. No, it can't be that long. How old am I? 35 years ago, possibly a little longer. Between 35 and 40 years ago, when I did physics in what you would call high school, comprehensive school here in the UK. And I learned about resonance, the physics of resonance, and that every entity has resonance, which is the frequency at which it will vibrate naturally. And there's something that just triggered that memory in listening to the two of you just now, because truth has resonance to human beings. Our natural frequency that takes us back and is, as Kate, you just said, that we're never the same once we felt it again. It's a feeling that can't really be described fully, only felt. And I remember, a silly example, but the bus that took me back from school to home had a resonance to it, and that's why it would shudder at a certain speed. And a bus can have a resonance with 30 school kids in it. And it's matter and energy, which is what we all are made of. Anyway, as a side point there, so if everything has a natural frequency of which it vibrates called resonance, then when we feel it, of course, it's the feeling of home and not for the first time.
Of course. And I wish there was a better word than feeling. Feeling doesn't seem, I don't know. I wish there were a better word.
Yeah.
It really is a full body vibration.
Yeah, which can turn a thread into a universe or an ocean.
Yeah, it's that much bigger than our minds.
Yeah.
Or how did you, after you caught this glimpse and it changed so deeply for you, how did you see it show up in your life? In your kind of your human moment to moment experience? What did you notice?
Oh gosh, so many things are running through my mind. One of the first things that happened was I started laughing more. And in particular, I was in a habit and a pattern of having my hands in multiple things, trying to heal and get better, from physical, mental, emotional things, the whole gamut. And when I saw that I was already golden and well, I just couldn't stop laughing at how hard I had tried. And maybe that's a funny reaction. Maybe I should have felt grief or anger or something, but it was just so funny to me. And I felt compassion towards myself because it was so honest. and I think the laughter was just evidence of the relief more than anything. Another thing that I noticed in my life was just how much easier it was to fall in love with people. Like, it was effortless. I mean, I remember I was traveling with Michael soon after that, all over the world for a year, and I was in lines and on planes constantly. And the conversations I would have with people sitting next to me or just standing next to me in the ticket line, how we'd be in tears within 5 minutes, or we'd be sharing oranges and giving each other a hug within 2 minutes. I mean, there was just no barrier. Yeah, that was amazing. And then another place that showed up was with my own kids. I have 3 boys. And I felt so much angst in trying to save them. And when I saw that this ocean was what they were made of as well, and it was just a little glimpse of that. It wasn't enormous, but I saw that. And just because that was in my world, like, it just looked like it was so much easier to just enjoy them rather than constantly be monitoring and managing and correcting. And so I became a way more hands-off parent. And it feels like now most of what I do is just, in an organic way, is just point them to who and what they actually are, that they've already got everything they need. And while that's easier, don't get me wrong, I still have mom angst, plenty of the time, but it looks so much more simple than it used to, and much less heavy. And another way that it really changed was in my experience of religion. It went from being enormously complicated to utterly simple. And instead of this game of trying to get back to God or get to God, it just became about exploring and discovering the world through the eyes of God. And it very quickly became only and always and ever about love. And so a lot of angst and complicated issues and rocky struggles and all kinds of things just lost their grit really quick. And one other thing I would just add is that I have been in an experience of frequent pain for a long, long time, physical pain. And it did not go away from this glimpse, but my experience of it shifted profoundly in a way, I guess because I understood that I could be okay and be in pain in the very same moment. And I understood that pain was transient, that it comes and that it goes, that my mind had a picture of it being a permanent thing. I don't even like the word chronic really anymore, because it is something that comes and goes, even though it comes a lot. It is something that comes and goes, and that changed my relationship with it. And I'm still on that journey, absolutely, but there's much more space and kindness and compassion and possibility in that relationship than there used to be.
Huge.
Yeah. And I'll throw one more out there just because it's in my head. I used to spend hours and hours and hours preparing to teach or to give a talk or to give a lesson or whatever in, in any context. And I just really, my time with Michael really, I think that was probably my biggest gift in that time, is just seeing, oh, I can completely rely on what arises in me in the moment. And it's infinitely better than anything I can plan. And that's made my life so much easier. Just to know I can step into any circumstance and the words will come. What a relief. And what an adventure.
I don't know if I know that yet. Thanks. Enough to know that that's the way that it works. But sometimes I still think these other things are off limits to that. Like they don't apply somehow. But then I know that's not true either.
Yeah, you get kind of onto yourself.
Yeah. That's kind of fun.
And it's kind of beautiful how it's okay. Like that's been a journey for me. Like, it's okay if things don't go poof. Just because something did once doesn't mean everything has to or gets to or needs to.
That's kind of cool too, because like unwrapping gifts all the time, all year, every day. But I don't know if it all just showed up at once, if we would get to really experience the value of each time we see it, or the value of not seeing it.
I had never quite thought of it like that. The value of not seeing it. Yeah, that's something I don't see. That sounds really, really awesome. That must be why being human is awesome. If I'm really honest, which I try to be, this glimpse allowed me to see that it's fully okay that I'm having a human experience. It's not going to be the end of me. It's going to be okay. But the thing that I'm still at least half blind to is that it's good news. It's good news to be human. Like there's a part of me that would, I just assume be done. I'm happy to move on to the next experience. I'm not loving it. I know I'm good. I know I'm okay. I know I'm safe, but I'm not really fully enjoying it. And that's what's unfolding for me in the moment is I'm not sure I see that very clearly. I think I could actually enjoy being human even a lot more than I already am. And I think I'm guessing, I'm glimpsing the secret to that is literally just being where you are, being where I am. And that simplicity of not having to categorize my thinking or my state of mind or whatever symptoms are arising in my body at the moment, and it's not that I need to turn my back on it because it's not significant. It's that I need to drop into it. Not in my thinking about it, not in my psychoanalyzing about it, not in my horrible stories about what it means, but just in it itself, under the noise. Right. And that's what I'm seeing right now is dropping in is the gift. That's the opening. Not dismissing it as, oh, it's just thought. Oh, it's just transient. Oh, it's just this. Oh, it's just like literally dropping in. Like I'm seeing that life is actually guiding that part. Our well-being is guiding that part. And yeah, it creates smoke of crazy thinking and neuroses and all of that. But beneath it, it is inviting us somewhere new. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's the present I'm unwrapping at the moment.
Not needing it to be different.
That's one I keep forgetting. Wanting things to be different, under the illusion that that would be a better day, life. And yet, in the bigger picture, what I'm forgetting is the experience itself is the bigger gift that I did not think was a gift.
Exactly. That the power is in what is arising, not anywhere else. It's not an easy thing to see when it's pain that's arising or a crappy state of mind or depression. or fear, or, but what if it's true? That's the question I'm swimming in. What if that's actually true? Something's vibrating, is what I'm saying. Something's resonating with it.
Mer, this has been glorious. A wonderful, meandering, deep, yet light-hearted at times conversation about what you've noticed and what we've noticed too. Thank you.
Thank you. What a beautiful place to be with you both. Thank you.
Yeah. You've been listening to Under the Noise. I'm Kate Roberts, and I'm here with my co-host, Wynn Morgan, and today we got to hear from her. Thanks again, Mer.
Thank you. Lots of love.
Yeah. If you have any questions or comments, please reach out. Or if you have any topics that you would love for us to explore, our details follow the podcast. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for joining us. We'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and review. If you have a topic or question that you'd like us to chat about, email Wynn or Kate at wynn@winning.co.uk and Kate at katerobertscoaching.com. Until then, enjoy what's possible under the noise.